Greetings, this is Obi-Wan Kenobi, and I have drifted into the underworld. The Star Wars underworld. I have a bad feeling about this.
Here we go. We must go to the lower levels. The underworld.
You've taken your first step into a larger world.
You're after something.
Ben.
Since I've started the underworld, I've met so many great friends.
Chris.
I grew up in the 1990s, and mall packaging is nostalgic for me.
Dominic.
What I love most about Star Wars is that it's fun and it's all-round good times.
So, this is where the fun begins.
May the Force be with us.
This thing really moves!
Whoa! I like this!
I can't believe you came all this way to see me.
Well, hello again, everybody, and welcome back to a bonus edition of the Star Wars Underworld podcast. We are back this week to talk about The Bad Batch Season 2, Episode 11, Metamorphosis, aka Return of the Zillo Beast. It's a return over a decade in the making, but the monster that terrorized Coruscant is back to terrorize the Bad Batch, and we are going to discuss this monumentous, humongous, ginormous episode of the Bad Batch here on this special weekend edition of the Star Wars Underworld podcast. First, though, introductions are in order in case you're new to the show or you've forgotten who we are. That can happen. My name is Dominic Jones, and with me, as always, is the founder of the Star Wars Underworld. It's Ben Hart, the Star Wars guy.
How's it going, everybody? I cannot freaking believe we have been waiting 13 years for this moment, and here we are. It's just insane. It's just insanity. And this is in a lot of ways, in several ways. I only got to watch the episode once, which is a travesty. But I'm gonna try to collect my thoughts because it's been a day. But I think this is the episode of Bad Batch I have been waiting for. This episode spoke to me on a level I can't quite describe, but I will try to anyway. So it's going to be a fun show.
Oh yeah. I'll be honest. I never thought we'd actually see another Zillo Beast episode. I thought, oh, you want me to clone the Beast? Well, we'll never see this again. And then Bad Batch started teasing away at it, and here we wound up. Also with us, as always, good friend and co-host, Chris Seekell. Chris, you're muted.
What's up, everybody?
Every time. Love it.
Oh my gosh. Why is it
Chris,
only when
you can't enter a podcast this week? It's just not working out for you.
Why is it only when I'm beginning the show that I'm muted and not in all of our tests that we do like a half hour before?
Right? We're talking all this time.
Makes no sense. Oh my gosh. Anyway, what's up, everybody? I'm super excited to talk about this episode, and I think we've determined that Ben is a Kaminoan cloner because there's a lot of Zillo Beasts on this podcast, and
yeah. For those
he created them.
Yeah. For those of you that are just listening, there are 4 people on this show. 3 people have set their virtual backgrounds to the Zillo Beast, and the other person is Ben. So that's what
Ben
we got going
is
here.
the one who did it.
He cloned the Beast, just like Dr. Ball?
Benlock.
Yeah. Who was the original scientist? Who was the scientist in the Clone Wars? Was it Dr. Bowl or something like that?
Sounds right.
Souvenir Bowl.
Souvenir Bowl. Look at that. Like something you would buy on vacation. It's a Souvenir Bowl, aka Dr. Souvenir Bowl, who cloned the Beast, I guess. Also joining us from the bottom of the well, from the Raeside, it's Hannah Raeside.
G'day there. Great to be back again. Lovely Saturday morning here for the show. We're very excited to talk about Bad Batch. What is this, episode 11? That should have been probably the 3rd episode of the season. But very excited. Can't wait to get into it.
What it should have been is the 3rd episode of the second half of the season that aired after the Mandalorian aired.
That's
is how they should have done it. Because like Ben, I didn't necessarily have time to sit down and properly rewatch the episode. And what I did was this morning before I left for work, I downloaded it on Disney Plus and just sort of watched it in chunks while I was at work. So whenever I had a quiet moment, I'd pop in my earbud and just have it watch it on my phone for like 5 minutes. And I realized how good an episode it was when someone tried to talk to me and I just ignored them. It took them, they had to like say my name 3 times before I realized, right. So I'm not just watching The Bad Batch at home. There are people here that expect me to do things because I was so hyper focused on it. I only even had one earbud in. I couldn't even blame it on like, wearing 2 headphones and blocking out all the sound. It was, it was something else. But we'll get to The Bad Batch in just a moment. As always, we want to remind you to punch the subscribe button, Chewy. Subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your shows, and you'll never miss another podcast. And like we said, we're going to have 2 show weeks for the foreseeable future while we discuss both Mandalorian and A Bad Batch on this show. And if you're listening live, you can super chat with us. That's a way to support us financially, and we'll read out what you have to say on the show. So if you have thoughts on this episode, that's a great way to get them in. You can also become a channel member and join this clone battalion that will one day go to battle with a Zillow beast. And
we're going to battle with a Zillow. That's not what I signed up for. I'm not CC000. I didn't. Nobody. This wasn't in the contract.
Well, should have read the fine print, Ben. And also review the show if you on your favorite podcatcher, and join the old Discord to keep the discussion going between episodes. All right, let's dive into things. We'll start off how we always do. Go around the table, give some initial impressions on the episode. And Ben, as the Zillow Beast cloner, we're going to go to you first. What did you think of Metamorphosis?
So this episode starts with the Bad Batch saying "screw you" to Sid, which is like, yeah, stick it to her. I'm like, this episode is so good already. And for the record, I knew about the Zillow Beast before I even sat down to watch the episode.
Same.
Because I am eternally online. So it's just the way it goes. But still, going into this, I'm like, okay, I know I'm gonna like this episode, but I really like this episode because of that, and then also something else that happened towards the middle of the episode. Just so much happening, and I think, and like I really cannot be objective with this. Okay, I've been watching for this for so long, and am I still here?
You are. I'm hovering.
You're with us.
Yeah, I'm hovering over the song, but
no, don't jinx it. Don't jinx it, okay? Keep your fingers to yourself, okay? Don't do that. Don't. I'm gonna keep talking here, and hopefully this will work. I can't be objective about this episode. I can't, because we've been waiting for this for so long, and I did not give up hope about the Zillow Beast. Okay, I did not give up hope. All these years, going through Clone Wars. I was in season 2 of Clone Wars, okay? They had plenty of time to come back to it. They just didn't. And now we've got Bad Batch, and I'm like, Bad Batch would be the perfect place to pick up that lost thread, and here we are, 13 years later. It's just insane. So the fact that they, pulled this out of the hat and did something with it is great. So I'm happy about that, but there's also lots to love about this episode, just in the fact of it's a lot of not just character progression, but story progression. There's a lot happening. It feels like there's a lot happening. It feels like there's a lot of stakes in this. And it really just a fantastically paced episode. A lot of great action. Yeah, nothing but good thing to say about this at this point.
Nothing but good things to say about this from Ben. Hannah, what about you? Give us your initial impressions on this episode.
Yeah, I don't really have anything else exciting to add, because I just completely agree. It was just such a combination of like a really cool episode, but also all the nostalgia for Clone Wars fans to like see it again was just so good. But I definitely think this episode has really hit its stride for Bad Batch. And it's kind of interesting, like this episode is like, I think this episode was really, really good, but it's like made me be even more annoyed at probably 4 or 5 of the previous episodes we've had, because I'm like, damn it,
Yes.
like we should have been having this like most of the season. Like this whole storyline that is presented in this. Like, how did it take us 11 weeks or 11 episodes to get to this kind of what I thought was the main storyline kind of thing of the show? So very, very happy that we got this episode and loved it. But yeah, wish that this was the single storyline that was going through the whole show. And imagine if we got the whole cloning and what's happening, or ships transporting scientific research and for weeks and weeks and weeks, and then we got the Zilla Beast. It just would have been such a fantastic reveal if it kind of had a bit more of a ramp up to it. But happy days. That sounds like I'm giving it a negative. It's good. It's because it's too good of an episode that I'm like, I want more.
It's so good. Yeah, the only response is to be negative about other things.
Yeah, I'm like, yeah, that works.
Oh man.
Chris, your initial impressions of the episode.
Yeah, I had very similar thoughts. I mean, first of all, speaking to what Ben said about being biased, like, I don't think I am, like, because while I was spoiled and I knew that, like, the Zilla Beast would have something to do with this episode, I didn't know if, like, someone name dropped it or we saw a hologram of it or if it showed up at the end of the episode in the last scene. Like, I didn't know what part the Zilla Beast would be playing specifically, but I did know from the beginning of the episode, this is going to be a great episode. And the reason why is because Bad Batch and Clone Wars and Rebels, all the Star Wars animation stuff does really, really well in the horror genre. Pretty much anything that they've done with horror has been really good quality, and I've enjoyed all of it. And Clone Wars definitely had a lot of horror type episodes. And so this episode having that, opening with that suspense of the creature attacking the commando clone on the commando trooper. What are they called now that they're Imperial?
Commando. I guess it'd be Imperial Commando.
Imperial Commando. There we go. The Imperial Commando. Like, that was like a really cool scene to begin the episode, and then getting once the Bad Batch gets to the ship, and then they're being stalked by the beast, and Tech's trying to figure out what's going on. Like, that same level of like suspense and horror there. So extremely well executed. It didn't even have to be the Zilla Beast for it to be a good episode, but the fact that it was, that's your cherry on top. And that's that thing, like Ben said, that we've been waiting for over a decade. And it's like, this is probably one of the most called for things in Star Wars animation. Like, people have been asking, where the heck is the Zilla Beast for so many years? And I know we've said it on our podcast multiple times, randomly, just, where's the Zilla Beast? What's going on with that? There was this whole plot that was set up, and there's this reference to it tying into the sequel trilogy, but we don't see any of that happening with Phasma's armor. Yeah. And then to speak to what Hannah was saying, I agree too, that while I was watching this episode, I was like, wait a minute. This feels like the setup episode for the season. Like, they're actually, the last episode of season 1 introduced Mount Tantus and this plot, and they set up season 2 to be about Mount Tantus. But then there wasn't any Mount Tantus really in the season 2 of Bad Batch, and it was all this other random stuff. And we kept feeling like it wasn't really tying into the overall story, and it was really only the episode with Crosshair and the episodes with the Senate that really tied into the overall kind of Star Wars plot a little bit more. And it just felt a little weird. And so I do agree that it's a kind of an odd choice to not have this episode earlier in the season, or parts of the story told early in the season, because it does feel like we've kind of been spinning wheels up until this point, and now they finally are going somewhere, and it is super intriguing and interesting, and they finally have advanced the plot of the Bad Batch and talking more about how important Omega is and why she's in danger. And yeah, everything about this episode itself is great. I agree. And I also agree that it sheds light on what the heck they were doing in other episodes and why it doesn't make sense.
Themes. They were doing themes in the previous episodes. That's what I keep saying.
That's right. You gave it a 10 out of 10 last week. I forgot that. You're that guy.
Yeah. Yeah. That's me. That's me. This season's been great. This season's been better than season 1. And honestly, this episode distracted from the themes, and I hated it. So I'm going to give it a 0. No.
There's no Benny. There was no Benny in this
There was no Benny. I was like, where's Benny? Where's Drake? Give me
God.
some.
They
Oh,
practically
Christ.
promised us he'd come back. Where is he this episode?
Yeah, what the hell? That's the main plot of the Bad Batch, and this episode
Plot hole.
failed.
This
Episode failed to move the story of Benny forward, and therefore it's a failure on every style. It's a filler. It's not a good episode. It's filler. That's what this episode is.
Wait. Is this
0
the
out
Benny
of 10.
Batch? Is this?
It
is
is the
Benny
Benny
Batch? Okay.
The Benny Batch.
The Benny Batch.
The Benny Batch.
Benny Bunch.
Before we jump into actually, Dom, you got it, and you saying your overall thoughts, and then I've got a major point to discuss.
Okay, I will. Obviously I like the episode. Like, what do you guys think? I hated this episode. Come on, I loved it. It was great fun. Creature episodes generally are not my favorite, and so like I won't say this was my favorite of the season. And spoiler alert, I'm not giving it another 10 out of 10. But I
11.
I really enjoyed what they did with it. I did enjoy having returning to some of these sort of dangling threads that are out there, and it did feel like we are moving in the direction that I've hoped the show would eventually get to. I've just not been in a rush to get there, and I've been enjoying the ride. And I do feel, and when we get on to the final scene, I'll talk about this some more, but I do feel like that last moment of the episode is enriched by having had the rest of the season be a little more nebulous than linear, where this episode was playing into those plot lines that were left hanging at the end of season 1. But really, it was a really enjoyable episode. Great Bad Batch moments, great Imperial moments, and yeah, come on, it was great to see the Zillo Beast again. I didn't think we would ever see it again. I thought this was that was something people would talk about for years and years, and there would be obscure references to yes, that monster that attacked Coruscant, and hey, that armor seems awfully strong. I wonder how they got that, and all sorts of things like that. But to actually see that the Empire or the Republic, as Tech points out, succeeded in cloning the beasts, and that there might be more of them out there. Like, one Zillo Beast was bad enough. Imagine, a little army or a little platoon of Zillo Beasts attacking some rebel outpost. That'd be bad news for anyone in their path. So yeah, really enjoyable episode. Really, really good stuff, and great to get back into some of those plot lines. But Hannah, I'll turn it over to you.
Yes,
because you've got a major point to make.
Yes, and I'm glad that this is the episode that I bring this up on, and I actually made a video about it, just randomly in the middle of the week, spontaneously, talking about filler episodes, because like I used to be of the opinion of like filler doesn't exist. And you can like stop saying things are filler. I've like completely 180'd on that opinion. And I'm like, actually, no. Like these stories are all filler. Okay. Like by nature, they're filler stories in terms of that, like they actually don't have to be told, but because we like Star Wars, we like media, we like these characters, we like these shows, they fill it up with the stories to be told.
Empire Strikes Back was the greatest filler movie of all time. You don't really need it. You could have just gone to Return of the Jedi, and just in dialogue explain that Luke found out that Vader was his father.
What are you talking about?
Totally
Have
unnecessary.
you lost your mind? What are you talking about?
You need C-3PO for some sarcasm to be translated down.
Anyway. But my new take on it is that filler will always exist, but it's kind of got a new definition where a lot of people would refer to filler as like, oh, we're just having to see this because they're waiting to show us something next week. I think that's been like the origin of the people using the word filler.
Yeah,
but I think it's definitely transformed, especially with the boom of TV shows we've been having and the style of TV shows and episodic shows, not movies. A lot of it is to be filler because it is stories that you may not have to watch, but you can watch. And my new take is that like you have to define what kind of filler it is. You have to define, like you have to have an adjective there of like this was boring filler, or this was like you could have exciting filler. Like you could have something that really just filled the time. It didn't do anything, but could be really fun filler. You know what I mean?
You could just drop the word filler from that and just say, well, this was boring or this was exciting.
But okay, but like the pod race,
yeah,
like the whatever that kind of episode, I would call that fun filler. Like I didn't learn too much about it in that episode, but it was fun filler, and I'm like, that was fun Star Wars, but it wasn't like this overarching thing. But also, maybe you're right. Maybe everything is connected and everything's important. Just food for thought. It was less
fun filler
words.
Is fun filler like the happy cousin to Godzilla? Here comes fun filler.
Oh, boo, tomato.
That's my filler joke. Between my actual jokes, but it's fun. It was a fun joke.
It's a fun filler joke.
And we all grown. I wish everyone on the internet that uses the word filler put as much thought into it as Hannah does. Like, I think it's just like, if you're gonna use it, like, think about it. Like, I think
I think that's more the point.
Because I think the genuine, like, this controversy, we always got to have a controversy in Star Wars fandom, and this is the latest one. This the whole thing about back and forth about this is filler. Well, you're misusing filler. You can't use the word filler. It's like, just think about it. Like, don't use it like if you just don't have to like something. You say I don't like it, and that's fine.
Yes.
You don't have to explain it. I think some people, and this is a product of our community and online fandom and peer pressure, all this kind of stuff. People feel like they need to justify their opinion. They feel like I can't just say I don't like it. I have to give a reason. I have to actually explain myself that thing. And you don't have to. It's fine. And I think people just hear, oh, filler. Well, that makes sense. It just didn't move the story forward or whatever else. But it's just like, no, you could say, it was boring. It didn't connect with me emotionally. I just didn't like it.
Yeah. Well, and it's also, I think, just to add on to this, it is fair to say, I like a show that has more of a linear through line, or that has more of or episodes connect to each other more directly, where, not maybe an episode doesn't lead it directly into the next one like Andor, but, we dealt with stuff on Tantus in this episode, and then we're going to deal with cloning stuff next week, and then we're going to tie them all together the week after that. And I think it's fair to say that's the type of story I like more than the story that is kind of more adventure of the week, which is what the show was for the first 8 episodes or so. It was very adventure of the week. It's, again, I think, Ben, you hit on something there, which is people always feel they have to justify their opinions. And sometimes the opinion is just, this is more to my taste than that. And, if you like something that is more sort of arc focused, then I understand why people didn't dig the first half of the season. You wanted to see what was going on with Mount Tantus. Yeah, of course. And I wanted to see that too. But the episodes they worked on a different level for me. And that was just, it has to do with how I like to watch things versus how other people like to watch things. And neither way is right or wrong. It's just,
that really was, I feel like that was kind of my take last week with the communism episode, because I was just like
10 out of 10.
Yeah, I was like 10 out of 10 because, like, while this episode is technically a filler episode, I like the filler. It's like the filling in the double stuffed Oreos, so I like it as opposed to
Look, the filler is
That's
the
true.
best part.
Yeah, there you go.
The filler's the best part. Who
Exactly.
eats
You guys are crazy trying to make filler a bad word.
Who eats just the hard part of the Oreo? No, if anything, you just want the cream. You just want to eat.
You want the filler, so that's good. But then the Indiana Jones episode was not.
It's classic.
Fun for me,
iconic.
but it was fun for other people. That's fine.
Well, that was like a birthday cake Oreo. Like maybe you're not into the birthday cake flavored Oreo. And look, there's going to be a week coming up that's going to be a lemon flavored Oreo, and I'm not going to like it. And I'm going to be like, that's not the right kind of filler for me.
It's like
So,
those pumpkin spice
The Zillow
Oreos.
Beast just came back and you're talking about flavored Oreos. Are we all mad?
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
we're 25 minutes in and we're like, haven't
Zillow-
discussed a point of
The
the episode
Zillow
yet.
Beast is like the like added extra stuff Oreo. That's like more than the double stuffed Oreo. It's like the best filler you possibly could have, because more than half of the height of the thing is the filler.
So yeah, so we've spent years trying to get IHOP to sponsor us, and varying degrees of success. I think we need to turn our targets now to Mr. Christie and try and get some Oreo sponsorships.
Okay,
here.
here's the thing. Oreos and pancakes could be a beautiful friendship.
Could be.
Oreo pancakes. Let's, through our filling, bring together these two franchises.
Yes.
And broker a peace. Armistice.
Absolutely. All right, Zillow Beast. The Zillow Beast is
Okay, now you have my attention.
back.
This is like the most factual, fascinating episode of the Bad Batch this season. And we're like, which Oreo is it most like, though?
Well, Oreos and pancakes, aren't they great?
Let's mix it, and then that's the Bad Batch season 3.
That's
here's
the
the
sort
thing.
of that's the sort of hard hitting analysis you tune into this show for.
That's
I
what we can
I
do.
like talking about the things I don't like because I'm on the internet. And I did not like anything in this episode,
but
so I got to talk about the
truly-
other ones.
Truly, how many pancakes and Oreos could the Zillow Beast eat? Truly, do we think?
Now that's
how it goes
now
to
let's,
vegan
let's
I have
dive
a question.
in. Let's
I
dive
have a
into that.
question. How is it that the Zillow Beast eats power, but then also ate the crew of the ship? I'm confused. How did both of these things happen? Does he eat people or does he eat electricity?
He's an
I think you need
omnivore.
both.
Yeah, he's an omnivore. He has a very expansive palate and enjoys multiple different flavors. And sometimes he's like, yeah, I want several million watts of energy just coursing through my stomach. And other
So-
times I want a nice tasty human. Is that so
What
wrong?
What you're saying is that the power grid is like the double stuffed Oreos, and the people are like the little thin Oreos.
Yes.
Brought it
Yes.
all around. Yeah.
You know, now that I'm just
Well,
thinking,
not
about it,
that
it's
you
weird.
mean.
It's weird that the original Zillow Beast, the OG Zillow Beast, was awakened by a giant EMP, which knocks out power. But then this one is
Eating power. Yeah.
eating power. That thing. I don't know if that was like in the original thing or is just it seems like a new side of the Zillow Beast that it can grow just by eating power. But
Yeah. Let's talk about the fact that they did actually bring the Zillow Beast back. And Chris, I'm almost afraid to ask because I feel like we're gonna go off on another food tangent here.
I promise
but
I won't talk about Oreos.
yeah.
I will talk about knockoff Oreos
Your
at the dollar
face does
store.
not say that.
Yeah. So I'm
I'll talk
actually
about
gonna throw.
pork
I'm
for
actually
people
gonna
who have
throw.
$1.
I'm actually gonna throw it to Ben because I feel like Ben is capable of getting us back on track. Ben, what did you think of the decision to bring back the Zillow Beast at this moment in time?
I mean, it was dumb, obviously. No, it's I mean, like, come on, this is perfect. Like, this is the perfect thing to do in Bad Batch. Like this, they had this teed up for so long. You had this whole idea of impenetrable armor, the fact that they can somehow, things, but also, setting up the moral question of just like, which was set up in the first two episodes, which was like, you're killing this beast, you're potentially, doing harm to it. And they freaking kill it in the original two episodes. Now you have an empire which doesn't give a crap about wildlife or anything really. Of course they're going to be working on this and trying to end. Like, it not only opens up it is this kind of way to get the Bad Batch back on track and back on focus on Mount Tantus. But also, like, of course they're going to be pursuing this, and also that could be really bad. Giving the Empire some impenetrable Zillow Beast armor could be real bad, and it's a really interesting thing that I don't know, like, where is this going to go? Now you've got multiple Zillow Beast clones running around out there, and you got the cloning facilities on Mount Tantus seemingly going in full function, and we have another character showing up, some more cloners that we thought were dead that are not. That's adding another wrinkle to this whole thing. So that's just a whole nother thing. So like this is setting up, like I really hope that they haven't said we're not getting season 3 of Bad Batch. So I'm assuming it's happening, and I really wanted to, because like this is really interesting. They're really widening the scope of the show with this.
Yeah, they're widening the scope and they're focusing it, I think, at the same time. I mean, Hannah, what'd you think of the fact that here we are, we're back on Mount Tantus? What do you think of what we've learned about what the Empire is doing there?
Well, we're just learning about it right now.
Yeah, exactly. What do you think? What do you think of what we got from it? Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry.
No worries.
I think it was. I just want more of it, kind of like what we got, because I think, to me, this is the main story of the Bad Batch. Like, their beginnings, the Bad Batch's origins is like they're defective clones. They're a product of this science, maybe science with malevolent intention, trying to, make something that is more powerful than it is, and all those kinds of things. So, yeah, I think this story is just so fascinating of how it's going. And talking specifically about the Zilla Beast, I like to think that they're trying to clone Zilla Beasts kind of like as sheep, because they're gonna I don't think they want to let's make this army of Zilla Beasts. I think they want to make heaps so they can take all their armor, kind of thing.
Sure.
So I don't know if there's something like that going on, but I just want. I reckon we could spend literally the rest of the season on Mount Tantus as a and a B plot, because I just think there's just so much there to explore, and some really cool characters introduced here. What's that? Dr. Hemlock. We haven't seen them before, right?
Yeah, he's new. I feel like he's the new Vice Admiral Rampart. Like he's the new sort of recurring Imperial villain that is going to kind of go up against the Bad Batch week to week until, a more intense baddie comes in a little bit later on.
Exactly. It's super cool.
But yeah, this does sort of, it gets the characters to focus too. It gets the Bad Batch to focus. And I think you make a really interesting point, because the Bad Batch, they themselves started as science experiments, essentially.
Yeah.
Like that's how they came to be. And so, they might have, some different feelings on, the Empire testing out this sort of technology and experimenting in this way, because they have seen sort of the positives of it in their own existences, but they also know just how dangerous the Empire can be. Chris, we'll throw it to you now. What did you think of how going back to Mount Tantus and how they've reintroduced this storyline into the show?
Well, from an out of universe perspective, I think it's kind of too late to do this. I wish they had done it sooner. But from an in-universe perspective, kind of forgetting about the fact that they kind of pretended this wasn't a thing for a while and then just shoehorned it right back in. I think this is probably one of the most compelling stories and storylines in this show. And I think it's really fantastic that they're getting back to it. Because there's a bit of mystery and intrigue to it at a time where there's not a lot of mystery and intrigue. Like, we know what happens to a lot of the major players. We know what happens in the overall fight between the pockets of resistance and the Empire. So it's really cool that they're adding something with Omega and with the Zilla Beast and with Mount Tantus and with some of the Bad Batch characters and these new villainous characters and the Kaminoan cloners that we really don't know how it's going to be resolved. We don't know what's going to happen with them. We don't know how Crosshair is going to come back and play into things. Like, there's all these kind of elements that are kind of wild cards here. And I think that's really great. That's what we need in this show, because there are a lot of key things that are kind of immovable things in the timeline that just have to happen. So I'm really excited. What I fear is that they then next week go and do another random adventure again, and they're like, we have to get back in Sid's good graces after mouthing Sid off. Like, I hope that this doesn't happen. I want them to continue with this, because this is interesting. This is the best that the show can be when it's dealing with stuff like this, and it's really, I think, at its most creative. So yeah. I just hope that they delve back into it, and this is a major plot thing that kind of carries through the rest of the season and beyond. Like, that's what I want.
I do think there's more to be done with Sid. I do think that's not a storyline that they're done with. I think, Ben, you pointed it out earlier. They kind of pushed back on to Sid for the first time, really, and they kind of, they kind of weren't ready to just sort of go along with her usual BS.
The fact that scene kind of ended with not with someone saying like, oh, we still need money, we need Sid. It was just like Tech going like, well, we got to do this carefully because she could screw us over and she knows a lot about us. It seemed like they're all in agreement of like, even Omega, this sweetest, nicest kid in all the galaxy who loved Sid, is like, nah, screw you. Like, you abandoned us. You're enemy number one now. Like, she's on board with this. So I feel like we're heading in the right direction.
Yeah. I mean, she was there for what's his face? Grinny's warning. His warning that Sid could betray them
right
at some point down the line. But we see Nala Se back in the picture. She was, that was kind of the stinger for the end of last season, was Nala Se being brought to Mount Tantus. And we learned that she's just hanging out in her cell. She's refusing to work. She's not going along with this. Hannah, what do you think of, Nala Se's, her resistance to the Empire here?
Yeah, I think it's one that's been really interesting. And honestly, ever since, oh, God, I forget her name. Bloody the senator, old senator,
Halle Bertoni.
Halle Bertoni. Ever since she has come back, I've been, and she spoke a little bit about like when she was speaking to Omega, and they were talking about like, I forget the conversation, but she was talking about how that I've lost all my people, like I just got to move on, like that's what's happened. Ever since that, I've been like, oh yeah, like the Kaminoans aren't just like cold scientists like with no soul. Like they actually do like feel like in a weird way, like they do realize what's happened. And yeah, I want more Nala Se, I think, because I think her point of view was really, really interesting to kind of contrast like that. There's not just like a good side and a bad side. There's not right and wrong, and there's kind of different perspectives and different experiences coming to the same situation of what's happening. So I really enjoyed that kind of perspective that she brought.
Yeah, Nala Se has been kind of an interesting character, because if we go back to the Order 66 arc in Clone Wars, she was kind of a villain. She was kind of an antagonist. She knew about Protocol 66. She knew about all these things she wasn't saying. But once Bad Batch came along, I think she, more than the Prime Minister, and we'll get to him in a second, I think she realized what was going on. She saw the writing on the wall about the Empire and began to, take small steps to, at the very least, protect Omega, and resist the Empire in that way. She helped the Bad Batch escape in the first episode. She sent Fennec out after Omega to kind of protect her, and face Fennec wound up facing down Bane and kind of rescuing Omega in a way, if I remember those episodes correctly. And so this is a character who we're seeing now, we're seeing sort of the multitudes, the different layers of Nala Se that weren't really there in Clone Wars. She was kind of a one-note villain, but now we're seeing somebody who went along with everything and profited from the rise of the Empire, but then had the Empire turn on them. She's kind of a cautionary tale that you can these guys they may seem like you may think you're safe by going along with the Empire, going along with the Republic, going along with these secret schemes of Darth Tyrannus. But the day will come when the other shoe drops, and then you're going to wind up in a prison cell having watched your entire world be destroyed. And I love the way she said it. I don't really want to help ever since my civilization was wiped out. I was like, that's such a great word. Such a great use of the word civilization. Yeah. So it's kind of interesting to see her, changing sides a little bit. I think ultimately she was out for number one, but now I think she'd like a little revenge. She'd like a little she'd like to take a bite out of the Empire. Having seen Camino go down, as do the Bad Batch. That's something that's been there through the first half of the season, is the Bad Batch and Omega in particular dealing with the trauma of seeing Camino be wiped out. And Omega said as much in those Coruscant episodes where she said, I'm angry about it. It's not something I can just live with. So it seems like we're heading kind of in that direction. But Prime Minister Lama Su, ever the politician, if there was one, and ever the fool. So politician, fool, synonyms maybe. But he kind of, Ben, I'll throw this to you. He's kind of making the same deal he made before. He might get a little bit of good out of this bargain he's making with the doctor, with the scientist, but it's gonna bite him in the ass eventually, right?
First of all, can I just say, for the record, even though I probably never said this and you'd never be able to find it on a podcast, I freaking knew he was alive. Okay, I freaking knew Lama Su was alive all this time. Okay, I knew it. Because you go back to that Bad Batch episode, I think it's one of I can't remember what episode it is, and it's the doors close and they're like, oh, get rid of him, and the clones walk in there and the doors close and it's presumed that he's been killed. Mm-hmm. And I always knew something was fishy about that, because it just seemed, I don't know, maybe they didn't, maybe they intended it for it to be that way. Bad Batch is not necessarily a show that would show something like that, but would definitely insinuate it. And Star Wars in general does that, but I like that they brought him back, and I like the fact that, which is really weird, the fact that there's not many Kaminos left, and the fact that Lama Su is so. He sold his soul to the devil way back when, whether it was to Sidious or Tyrannus or any of those guys, and now he's just continuing down that path. He's things. But I also like that. By the way, what happened to Tan Wee? Did Tan Wee die?
Tan Wee's dead. Tan Wee's dead.
Cad
Bane killed her. Yeah.
Was the only good Kaminoan.
Was she though?
But I mean, she was nice. She was nice. She was nice to Boba Fett, I think, at one time. So she had to have a heart a little bit.
Fair enough.
What's the okay? We have Nala Se, who I think, pure evil, seemingly pure evil, like all this time, like did horrible things to Fives, like made us just hate her so much. Now she's seemingly the good guy. She's the one that's like, seems to actually care about Omega, and Lama Su knows that they can use it against her. And it's just weird that now we come into a head here where like Nala Se and the Bad Batch are now on the same side. They've kind of been the same side the whole time, because Nala Se has really been kind of helping them this whole time. But man, I really that's why I'm just babbling on, because I like this so much. I love where this is going.
Yeah. This does sort of tie back to something earlier on in the season, right? Officially, the Bad Batch is dead. Officially, they all died on Camino. And here's Lama Su saying to the scientist, whose name I have not committed to memory yet. That he's saying, like, this is who you need to find. And so the scientist is going to go looking for Omega, and he's going to be like, I thought she's dead. And then probably start to find all the clues that the Bad Batch has been leaving this season, that the fact that they're still alive and they're still out there. And maybe to bring all the, you know, just the various plot lines together. Maybe he'll find Sid. And, you know, maybe not being in Sid's good graces, as Tech warns at the beginning of this episode, could cause them problems down the line. Should Dr. Hemlock, gonna remember that one. Should
you know he's evil. He's got a weird haircut.
He does. He does. He's got a good sinister
voice. He did that thing where he shaves the side of his head. He shaved the side of his head, but he's got hair on top. You know, so they're evil when they do that.
He's copied my eyebrow slit though. He's copied my look though.
It's pure. Yeah, that's how you know pure evil. Got the eyebrow.
Yeah, there you go. That's the sign. Oh God.
Yeah, it's interesting stuff. Now at the end of the episode, you know, the Bad Batch Tech figures out, okay, I got all of this, you know, I got all this information about what they're doing with the beast, what they want to do with the beast. And Hunter makes a call that he hasn't done yet this season. He says, call Rex, call Echo. They need to know about this. You know, Rex was always the one making the first move up until this point. And this is the first time Hunter has gone, all right, maybe it's time to just dip our toes into actually getting involved. And the episode ends on Omega with kind of a smile, a little bit of a like, finally, here we go. Let's get into this. Let's get to it. Because I think, as I said for the last 2 weeks, I think Omega knows, you know, in her core, whether she's accepted this fact or not, that eventually the right thing to do is to join up with Rex and Echo and to join their fight, whatever it is. And Hunter is finally the one, you know, kind of pointing them in that direction. And this is where I do think, you know, the first half of the season and, you know, going through the galaxy with Omega and seeing all the different things that she saw through those episodes, through those varying degrees of Oreo stuffedness filler episodes, you know, I think that adds to that moment because she knows what the galaxy is. She's experienced it. She's lived it for a season and a half. And so she knows what this choice means, and she knows that it's the right one. And it does, I think it ties in with, you know, the first season again, thematically. There's not a direct link. I can't say, well, this led to this. But all those experiences in the first half of the season brought her and brought Hunter to this moment where it's like, all right, we're going to start to do the right thing. And we know it's the right thing. And let's get excited about it. Let's get excited about a rebellion against the Empire. Just like Luke was in those deleted scenes of A New Hope when Biggs tells him what he's going to do. And he goes, you're not get the rebellion against the Empire. You're going to join up. Oh my God. That's basically what he says.
Perfect
basically.
Mark Hamill impression.
Perfect. That's my flawless. I was going to go to Tashi Station to pick up some power converters. Yeah, it's good stuff. One other thing I wanted to bring up in the episode, the clone commandos, the Imperial commandos.
Yeah.
Basically relegated to Zillo Beast duty. That's what they do now. They're the only clones left in the Imperial War Machine. They're on Beast duty, and you know, they're
doggy daycare.
Yeah, and you know, they're stuck picking up the Zillo's droppings, and that thing's leaves just some massive piles. I don't know.
Electricity?
Yeah, how does electricity? That's right. What does that do to your intestinal system?
Electric poop.
Yeah. So, but you know, what do we think of seeing the clone commandos again, seeing them back of this role that they've been assigned?
I thought it was so cool. Visually, it was so cool because the aesthetics of the episode were very low key, very like dark scenes. Having the like blue glowing visors like looked so cool. So yeah, I think just from a visual perspective, I'm really glad that they're back. I thought it was awesome to watch.
Yeah. And we also go ahead, Ben. Go ahead.
No. I would just I don't want to bring the mood down, but I actually don't like it.
Oh,
I think
there's something wrong in this episode. You say, Ben?
It's not for the reasons you think. Okay, so this goes back to how they dealt with like ARC troopers. This is an old gripe that I have. So this is Ben's nitpick corner.
I love this.
So like with the Clone Wars, they introduced ARC troopers, but they never really did anything special with them. They just they just got upgraded armor, and like Fives and Jesse, like they got some really cool armor. They never really did anything special. They never seemed to have anything that was interesting or did anything. And this kind of takes it to the whole another level with the Clone Commandos, who are it's just a brilliant design. Obviously, there's a lot of mythology there with the game and everything like that. They had that cameo in Clone Wars. Like, it was great. But there's like 1,000 of them in this episode, and they're just like foot soldiers. And it's just like, these are supposed to be like the best of the best, highly trained, absolutely pinnacle of clones. And are we supposed to believe that like all of them got transferred to Mount Tantus and then they're just doing guard duty on this thing? Or are they not clone commandos? Are they just some kind of other things? It just it bugs me a little bit that like the specialness is not there. Just like I would prefer that in smaller doses of just like, let's like let those be stormtroopers. The guy that's running around getting chased, let him be a stormtrooper.
I can kind of see why they would maybe have the Imperial Commandos like have their base be Mount Tantus, and that's where they're all hanging out, but then they like dispatch them on missions and like smaller squads to do things. So that's the explanation I can think of for like why that would happen.
Yeah, I like
that. And this could all be they can make me feel better with like one line of dialogue and just like explain a little bit. Like that's all it really takes. But right now I'm angry. I'm grumpy about this.
I mean, it's like when the Clone Wars they'd bring in like super battle droids and things like that, and they weren't really that much better than the battle droids.
Yeah, there'd be the new battle droids would have one episode where they were like unstoppable, and then a week later it's like just shoot him and he's fine. And
and then Commando. Then they brought in the Commando battle droids.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, all these different ones. The Magna Guards.
Magna Guards. No,
that's who they need. That's who they need. The Magna Guards with electricity staffs. They would be able to handle the Zillo Beast.
But this is where the cloners clearly aren't thinking, because they armed all these guys with electric staffs, and the Zillo Beast eats and thrives off electricity. You need something else. Like, you need something to ground it with, like rubber or whatever the opposite of electricity.
We're trying to subdue this giant monster.
Water,
Let's give it more what it wants.
Actually,
if you throw enough
water on the Zillo Beast.
Well, they do submerge it in the tank at the end.
Well, that's in Bacta though, so maybe that's different.
Maybe,
I was assuming that
water conducts electricity.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know if that's a good idea. No, but does it back to conduct electricity is the good question, because you have all those like electrical wires connecting to people in Bacta sometimes, and you'd think if it was conducting electricity, that would probably not work very well.
That's a fair point. It's a fair point.
2 months ago, I would have had zero reaction to seeing commandos in this episode. But I have literally just finished a Republic Commando playthrough on my channel, just 2 weeks ago. And like I've never played the game before, never seen the game before, and then I played through it. I'm like, this is fun. And then like this week we got them, and I'm like, I actually know these characters. Wow. So I love seeing them, because I was like, I know these guys. I know Scotchy Boy.
Yeah, I was gonna say one of them is actually one of the characters from
right?
Scott. Yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah. Feel like you need to do a Karen Travis reread and go back and read those books from the good old days. Good stuff. The other thing that they kind of do, that the Imperial Commandos do, is they round up the citizens of this village that saw the Zillo Beast. Good things aren't going to happen to those people, right? They're not going to be taken to a land of candy canes and puppy dogs. they're probably
They're
more
just
likely
taking him to Scarif for a vacation.
more like they taking them to Mustafar for a vacation, a permanent vacation.
And they'll put them on the was that Nala Avalon 5 or whatever that planet's called in Andor.
Oh yeah.
On the working the camp thing, working the prison.
Yeah, building Death Star pieces. Yeah.
Yeah.
There was I sort of felt kind of an interesting sort of series of emotions to the Empire in this episode, because when the Empire shows up to take down the Zillo Beast, I almost felt a little bit of relief, because it was clear that the Bad Batch couldn't do it on their own. They couldn't. There's no way. But the Empire shows up with that almighty force, and you're like, okay, all right, this will be taken care of. The rampage will end, all good. And I'm sort of, as that was happening, I was sort of thinking like, yeah, I can see how this, could impact the citizens of the galaxy. They see this force come in and, restore some order. And then they go, yeah, the Empire is a good thing. Yeah, this is good. But then they started rounding all the people up, and it's like, oh no, they just want to keep this quiet. So it's kind of the duality of, the Empire of, Palpatine provides order, but with order comes, a severe lack of freedom in Palpatine's galaxy, certainly. But yeah, I just thought that was interesting. And then those scenes of all the people being rounded up were chilling moments. Yeah, there we go. That's everything I've got in the episode. But that doesn't mean the show's over, right? That we can't possibly.
Follow us on SWU. Go join our Discord. Good night, everybody. That's all, folks.
But no, it's not the end of the show. It's time once again for everybody's favorite segment. It's time for Favorite Corner. Connections in the corner with Ben. It's Ben's Connection Corner. Do.
How's it going, everybody?
Ben's Connection Corner is filmed in front of a live studio audience. All right, Ben, the studio audience is here. We're ready. What have you got for us this week?
So while you guys were talking, I did some math, some research. Apparently, the Zillo Beast can consume approximately 400,000 calories per day, and 400.
Wow.
Yeah.
Honestly,
so
that seems a little low. Like Michael Phelps consumed like 30,000. I feel like the Zillo Beast is more like 400 million calories a day.
Michael Phelps consumed 30,000 calories.
I think so.
I thought it was 8,000.
Okay, maybe it was 8,000, but still.
I feel like you'll die. It's 30,000.
Hold on.
Gee, it's almost like I made it up or something.
Like 3,000 is like a normal, like a large human amount.
Michael.
Okay, 10,000. 10,000.
All right, Ben, continue this. I'll figure this out.
Sorry, continue.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, he can eat a lot of Oreos and pancakes. That's my only point.
Lot of filler.
Oh,
sorry, you're right. I don't know.
Pancakes.
I don't know where the hell I got 30,000 from. It's
That's
8 to 10,000 calories a day, which is still
an incredible amount.
Like, that's ridiculous.
I love how we're more freaked out about Michael Phelps than the freaking Zillo Beast fact that Ben just gave us.
This connection that we've reached. This is Ben's made up connection corner, where he just invents. It's all fiction anyway. So why is this any different?
So I just have fun with it. If Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau can do it, so can I. Yeah. Okay. So the good old Zillo Beast was first introduced in the year 2010. Specifically, the first episode, The Zillo Beast, aptly titled, aired April 9th, 2010. That was exactly a day before the Star Wars Underworld came into being, for the record.
Wow.
This is a Star Wars Underworld connection corner.
So this was the newest. The Zilla Beast was the talk of the town, the newest Star Wars when the Star Wars Underworld first got started.
Does this mean we have to shut down the Underworld now that the Zilla Beast has come back? It's like, well, we've come full circle. So this is the last episode. Yeah.
I'm just keeping this thing open until the Zilla Beast comes back, and then we're gonna shut it down.
Shut her down.
So yeah. Pretty wild. The Zilla Beast having its. Yeah, just crazy. We're coming up on 13 years of the Zilla Beast, and the story's not over yet. I love the fact that they brought back the stun ray. I like that they perfected the process of subduing the ray. That how Anakin basically figured out how to do it. Anakin and Mace Windu figured it out that one time. Just accidentally go, just shoot a big ray at it and see what happens. And now they're just like, boom, boom, down. He's asleep. Take him in. That's pretty cool.
That's my favorite Black Eyed Peas song. Boom, boom, down.
Oh boy. So we actually have previously, speaking of Republic Commandos or Imperial Commandos, we saw Scorch in the previous, I think it was the War Mantle episode. But this time he actually gets a proper credit in things. D. Bradley Baker as Scorch. It's kind of official now that this is him. It's not just a clone. Because I think in one of the episodes, guys, they were like, "Oh, it's a clone that appears to be Scorch." And it's like,
that's right.
Oh, come on! He has the exact same color scheme, and he's not Scorch. Come on now. So now they've basically confirmed it. So good on you.
Yeah. Well, you know, Ben, that desert planet, it's not Tatooine. It's Jakku. So it's not Scorch. It's Steve.
I remember specifically being in that stupid room in Anaheim when J.J. Abrams was on stage. He's like, "Oh, that's Jakku." I'm like, "What? It's not Tatooine. What are you talking about? What are you doing? What are you on, J.J.? Come on, man." Just wild stuff. Speaking of J.J. Abrams, this is just an observation of mine. I don't think this is actually the case, but as it goes, I sometimes make things up. That ship that transports the things when it first dropped out of hyperspace gave me strong Ochi of Bastoon's ship vibes. Like it's the same general shape, so much so that I kept looking at it throughout this. So like, is this the same model of ship or things? I think it's supposed to be much bigger in scale, but it's the general shape of it that just like, is it supposed to be whatever the name of it is? So. Yeah, that was interesting. I like that. And this is okay. This last one made me cheer. Like, I cheered when I was watching this the first time. The fact that we got, it's been out there. We've talked about it, and it seemingly was confirmed. But really, this was the official confirmation that I'm especially not coming through very well.
Ben. Yeah, I think we missed whatever it was that was officially confirmed. Because
I haven't said it yet.
Have you said it yet?
Oh, you haven't said it yet.
You haven't said it yet. I've heard you, Ben.
Yeah,
just the way
I was big up, so I'm just gonna repeat that.
Yeah, go for it.
Wait, what? No,
you know what time it is?
Ben
Hart, the Star Wars guy.
Yes.
Ben Hart,
No.
the Star Wars guy.
Star Wars rules. This is momentous. This is exciting. Why, hello there, Ben.
Ben Hart, the Star Wars guy.
He is the founder of the Star Wars Underworld, Mr. Ben Hart.
How's it going, everybody?
All right.
Am I the only one that
nightmares
that heard the no halfway through that?
In the middle of it? Yeah.
Yeah.
No. That was great.
Yeah, you heard right.
Oh, man.
I got the
freaking Mount Tantus is confirmed. Okay, that's what I wanted to say. That's all I wanted to say was Mount Tantus.
Wait, they confirmed? That was not confirmed.
Well, they confirmed it in the episode because it was in the episode guide before. Now somebody actually said Tantus.
I see. Because they can change the canon of what's in the episode guide.
I actually don't recall them confirming it into an episode guide, so that's news to me.
Well, okay.
Hell yeah,
there was concept art in the episode guide, and at the bottom it was named Mount Tantus.
I'm a gun that.
Now, see, that doesn't count. That doesn't count.
All right, fine, Mr. Connection Corner.
I mean,
I just brought a connection to the corner, and you're like, get out. It's wrong. You lie.
It's my corner.
Yeah.
All right. I get to decide what's connection, what's not. You'll be like, I think Darth Vader and Anakin Skywalker are the same person. Like, no, that's not
a connection. Okay. All right. Is that it? Is that all the connections? Is that what we got?
Let me see. Yes, that's it.
All right. Terrific way to end another iconic classic edition of Ben's Connection Corner. Connections in the corner with Ben. It's Ben's Connection Corner. Do.
How's it going, everybody?
Ben's Connection Corner is filmed in front of a live studio audience. Next time we do a live show, we have to figure out a way to spin Ben around like that when we do a live edition of Ben's Connection Corner. We'll figure out a way on how to turn him around and around like that.
I've just realized that I probably will be retiring from conventions. Won't be doing any of that. Never again. No. I do not wish to be spun around. Thank you very much.
Okay. All right. Well, your loss, I guess. I was just gonna feed you as many Oreos as possible and then start spinning you and see what happened.
Yeah.
All right.
Without the filling, I'm eating the filler.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
He just gets the cookie part.
Let's wrap this up. Let's
wrap this up.
Yeah, let's go around the table one last time. Give some final thoughts and scores out of 10 for the episode. Hannah, why don't you start us off this time? Final thoughts and scores out of 10 for the episode.
Caught me off guard there. That's fun. I love this episode. Dark, action, cloning, Zillo Beast, Commandos. Good stuff. What a great combination of things. I'm going to give this a 8.5 out of 10.
8.5 out of 10.
Yeah, there's still room to improve for me.
For sure. 8.5 out of 10 from Hannah. Chris, what about you? Final thoughts, scores out of 10?
I am also caught off guard.
Keeping everybody on their toes tonight.
Oh my goodness. We just can't show them, or we'll end up on that website.
Sure.
Yes.
Sure.
But yes, I'm going to say that this episode is about as good as this show could be in my imagination of it. Like, I think the way that the episode was shot was really unique and interesting. I love the horror elements. I love the low keyness of not to be confused with Tom Hiddleston, the low keyness of the episode, and how kind of like visually dark it is with highlights and lights and things. I thought that was really, really cool. Not a fun thing to watch in a bright room though. But it looked cool with what I can say of it. And I just think it's so great that they finally brought the Zillo Beast back. One of the biggest things that the fans have been clamoring for over a decade. And I just hope that this is not the end of this storyline. I think this is one of the strongest and most interesting storylines in this show and in this era of Star Wars, this time of Star Wars that the show takes place in. So for me, it is a 10 out of 10. I don't think that you can improve upon this without going into uncharted territory.
All right, 10 out of 10 from Chris. Ben, what about you? Final thoughts, scores out of 10.
Wow. Okay, I didn't expect that. Yeah. So, look, this is a winning combination of things. You got Mount Tantus, you got the Bad Batch breaking up with Sid, you got the Zillo Beast. I say this is as close to perfection as possible. If not, even more than perfection. I'll give it 11 out of 10.
Seriously?
Wow.
Okay. 11 out of 10 from Ben.
Can I do that? Is that legal? Is that legal?
I mean, there are no rules to this. You could give it 6 jars of jam out of 4 piccolos, like, whatever.
I give it 5 out of 4 Oreos. Give it 8 out of 7 pancakes.
8 out of 7 pancakes. All right, I like it. I will give this one an 8. An 8. I liked it a lot. I liked seeing the Zillow. I enjoyed the the setup for the mystery on Mount Tantus, and I liked getting back some Kaminoan action a little bit and seeing what's going on with those characters. I think they're an interesting crew, and so I thought that was fun. That we're kind of going to see more of that play out. And I enjoyed the bits of interaction that we got between the Bad Batch. I liked seeing Tech and Omega back together, especially in light of their conversation a couple of weeks ago on the show. I feel like they've reached a new understanding, and when they're working together, it's kind of interesting to see that there is a certain respect there, because Tech is the tech guy, but Omega, she learned about all this Kaminoan technology at the feet of the Kaminoans, from Nala Se herself. So, there was that really good back and forth. Also underrated Omega moments that we haven't really mentioned in this episode, but her horror at finding out that the Zillow ate the crew, and she just kept, she repeated herself. She was like, it ate the crew? What? So good stuff there. That's my Omega impression. That's how she talks. She's like, I'm Omega. What are you talking about? And also loved the clone commando action. I thought that was kind of cool. Looking forward to seeing them in action some more. All right, that is it. That is our conversation about Metamorphosis, and we will begin to wrap things up on this bonus edition of the Star Wars Underworld podcast. We will be back next Thursday for another Mandalorian discussion. And the turnaround was so quick between this episode and our last episode that we're actually going to take a little bit longer to start next week's episode. And by a little bit longer, I mean half an hour. So it's going to be at 10 p.m. Eastern next week, 7 Pacific, as opposed to 9:30 and 6:30. So we'll just be a little slightly later than usual next week when we discuss Mandalorian, and then we'll have another weekend episode for Bad Batch. Ideally, we'll get on some sort of regular schedule for these, but based on how things went this week, I have a feeling just follow the Star Wars Underworld on social media, and that's how you'll find out when new episodes of this are being recorded live, and of course they'll be in your feeds.
You know what you guys should do, and it's something that we don't tell you to do very often, is hit the notification bell so that your phone goes bloop whenever we make it.
That's the noise it makes, huh?
Is that? Wait, I'm the only one.
It's like a single. It's like a single tear dropping in a glass of water. Bloop.
Yeah, whenever Hannah goes live, my phone goes bloop. Hannah is live.
So yeah.
Oh, that's so nice. You know when I go live?
Yeah.
I hope that I have your notification bell hit. I actually don't know. Now I should check.
To find out, yeah. So yeah, hit the notification bell. Find out when we go live, and do the same for the Raeside, so you know when Hannah's going live as well. And also follow us on social media at the SWU. That's where we'll make showtime announcements of when you can tune in live. And as always, it'll be in your feeds on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, wherever you get your shows shortly thereafter. Might leave like a day or two gap just to, give everybody a chance to listen to the Thursday pod, and then, we'll get these out to you maybe for Sunday or Monday. But we'll see. It depends on how busy I am this weekend. Is how I'm going to set the schedule. Is how long do I need to edit this thing? Not very long. But yeah, that's it. So tune in next week, Thursday, and then sometime on the weekends. TBD. We'll be back to talk about Mandalorian and Bad Batch and so much more. Ben, thank you as always for being on and for putting up with all of our Oreo conversations when you just wanted to talk about the Zillow Beast.
Yeah, look, next time I want some focus. I really want you guys to work on this because next time something really great happens, you gotta look when the Zilla Beast comes up in the Mandalorian, which is inevitable probably next week. You guys no talk about Oreos, okay? Get Oreos and pancakes out of your mind, okay? This is real serious stuff we gotta talk about today. It's been fun, guys. Talk to you next week.
Oh man.
Serious discussion about a show about 5 clones with superpowers fighting Godzilla. This needs to be taken seriously, damn it. And you know what? I apologize for our earlier lack of seriousness.
It was filler. We had a filler podcast.
Filler. Yeah, this podcast was filler. It should be written off. The Thursday episodes, those are the main one. That's where the main story happens. These are filler. Hannah, thank you as always for being on. Let people know what's coming up on the Raeside.
Yeah, lots happening on the Raeside. We're still doing our gaming. We still have our live show, and there'll be a couple other new show styles. I don't know how to say that. Types of streams coming up in the next couple of weeks, so it's going to be very exciting. So yeah, make sure you check it out over on the Raeside.
And make sure you hit the notification bell like I just did, so your phone goes.
My biggest fan.
Fan.
Yeah, that is the Raeside, spelled R-A-E side. Chris, as always, thank you for being on. I don't know if you have something you want to plug.
Yeah. The reason why I am here and not in my normal spot is we just filmed a game show with Star Wars and like other nerdy trivia, and like I literally can show you the set. It's like right back here. That's the set of the game show.
There it is.
We had so much fun.
Buzzers.
Yeah, there's buzzers. I mean, it's a really entertaining time. So we're editing it right now. We're editing the show, and we're hoping to release it on a YouTube channel near you as soon as possible.
Nice. Be on the lookout. Make sure you're following Chris and following all the Culture Slate things for that sort of thing. And again, you can follow Chris at Seek3PO. Ben is at Ben Hart with no E. Hannah's at the Raeside. I'm at Dominic J25. And Star Wars Underworld is at the SWU. And what else do we want to remind you? If you haven't already, subscribe, turn on the notification bell, and join the Discord. Link in the description. That is it. We will see you on Thursday. For Ben and Hannah and Chris and all the other wonderful people at the Star Wars Underworld, my name is Dominic, and may the Force be with you. It's a wrap.
Fanzilla.